All right. Just got to position myself here. All right.
I,
Now,
I,
ready to rock.
I can see you.
Yeah. Well, I can
You
see
in a
you.
mansion?
Well, look,
You in your mansion, man? Good God.
Where do you want me to be? You want me to be in this? You want me to be living in the streets?
Okay, we on YouTube. Go.
Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Rick Young. This is another segment of What's in Your Hand. What's in Your Hand is a motivational program where we practice the principles of what I call tags, your talents, your abilities, your gifts, and your skills, and how we can improve our life. And we look to find guests that can share that good information. So, and I also call this Grant University. So welcome to Grant University. And my guest today is Eli Marcus. Eli Marcus is the founder of the Seminar Center. He's the host of the Motivational Show podcast. And he's got a very interesting story. How you doing today, Eli?
I am absolutely tremendous. And you know why I'm tremendous?
Why is that?
Because I learned from Charlie Tremendous Jones that you got a choice. You can be okay, you can be good, or you can be tremendous. Which one do you think you want to be, Rick?
Well, first of all, let me just say, you're the second person. I'm doing a series. I'm doing are you familiar with ESPN? That's a sports network, and they show sports and or anything related to sports, documentaries. They have this thing called 30 for 30.
Yep, that sounds right up my alley. I like that.
Yeah. So my esteemed engineer and I, we are doing a 30 for 30 motivational shows. So you are number 6.
Hey, you know something? I'd rather be number 6 than number 30. So I'm in. Let's roll.
Number 30, we're gonna celebrate number 30 because we set a goal and hopefully we will achieve that goal. We're gonna be working toward achieving that goal. But I want to thank you. I'm honored to have you today. And I met you, I saw you, and you had this program called the Seminar Center. And I used to see the magazines on the street. I would pick up the magazines and they had all the different classes, all the different speakers. And let's talk about some of the speakers that you had at some of the Seminar Center. I know Les Brown, Iyanla Vanzant, the gentleman from the Four Agreements, Don Miguel Ruiz. Les Brown, there you go. You got your material.
How's that? See how yellow it is?
With you.
Yeah, that's 20 something years old, that book.
That's one of the books that changed my life too.
Yep.
Yeah, I read that book and I was working in the hospital. I said, this is not it. I gotta go. Time for me to go. Can't be here. Kids can't hold me. So Don Miguel Ruiz, he's the author of The Four Agreements. Les Brown, Iyanla Vanzant. Name some of the other esteemed guests that you had on the Seminar Center.
Dr. Dennis Waitley, The Psychology of Winning and the Seeds of Greatness. Mark Victor Hansen, Chicken Soup for the Soul. We've had Michael Jackson.
One second. Jack Canfield, you said Mark Victor Hansen.
Mark Victor Hansen.
They sold 500 million books.
That's right.
Okay. All right, continue. You said Michael Jackson.
We had Michael Jackson. We had Ivana Trump. We had a gentleman by the name of Neil Donald Walsh, who wrote Conversations with God, which was a bestseller. And then we had a gentleman whose book became part of the American jargon. And you know what that book was? That we use this phrase every day? Don't Sweat the Small Stuff by Dr. Richard Carlson.
Yeah, Richard Carlson.
That's right.
Yeah, he made his transition, man.
And how's this one, Rick? Feel the fear and do it anyway. Is that a good one? Dr. Susan Jeffers.
I think I have that book. Wow, okay. Yeah. Wow, interesting, man. You have some really esteemed guests at the Seminar Center. Now, what's some of the guests that you had at the Motivation Show?
Well, it's a great question. I'm actually bringing some of those people back 23 years later. This Sunday, I have Dr. Dennis Waitley, and I can't wait for that. Yeah. And he's I think he's out in his mid 80s right now, but he's one of my mentors. He's one of the giants, Okay. He's one of the the guys that were there with Jim Rohn, who was Tony Robbins' mentor, they were colleagues in the day.
Right.
So
Right.
we just had Mark Victor Hansen a couple of weeks ago. Really excited about that. And in fact, you mentioned the 4 agreements. We had the author of the 5th agreement, who was Don Miguel Ruiz's son, Don Jose Ruiz.
Right. Right. Wow. Okay. Okay. So with all that said, what does success mean to you, Eli Marcus?
Well, that's a wonderful question, Rick, because everybody can probably come up with their own definition of success. And one of my favorite definitions is from, again, another one of my mentors. And I'm really dating myself because this is a giant in the 50s who everybody could look back to and look as a mentor. And that was Earl Nightingale. And Earl Nightingale said that success is the progressive realization of a worthy goal. A progressive realization of a worthy goal.
Now, what does that mean?
Basically, what that means is that every single day you're getting better and better. My philosophy is that you get better at least 1% every day, progressive, because you're not going to force success. It's not an overnight kind of thing. It's not hey, I'm going to put a buck on the lottery and pray for rain. It's progressive. It's daily. And that's why motivation is important to have in your life consistently, because it's hard to play the long game. It's nice to play a short game, but that's called 3-card Monte. And you know what happens when you play 3-card Monte, Rick, right?
Never played the game. I watched it from the sidelines. Never played it.
Yep.
I never seen nobody win. No, actually, I've seen a couple of guys win, but I think he was already on the team.
And you know what happens when you win? They set you up for a loss. Nobody wins in that game except for the dealer.
Okay.
So you must be in it for the long term, which is why your mind needs to be so strong. And as Les Brown says, you got to be hungry.
Right.
Because if you're not hungry, it's going to dissipate. It's going to be like water, off a duck's back. It's not going to last. So you've got to be in a hungry mindset that can last you over the long term.
So can I call this success a game? Would you mind if I called it a game?
You can call it a game.
All right. So if this success game is so much fun and so great, why aren't people knocking each other down, trying to get to it, fighting, trying to get to it, or running after it? It seems like when they see success, they run the other way, or the success game.
Because it's really hard. You've got to work for it. And not everybody wants to put in the elbow grease. You and I have talked in the past. Are you willing to wear out 6 pairs of sneakers to do what you need to do? Will you wear out those 6 pairs of sneakers? Because if you wear out 1 or 2 or even 3 or even 4, it's not enough. You got to be in it for the entire 6 pairs of sneakers. Not everybody's got the backbone. Not everybody maybe wants to get in the ring for 12 rounds like a Rick Young. Not everybody's got that constitution. They have the DNA. They're born with that ability, but not everybody has the same motivation.
Yeah. Wow, you just remind me of something. I had 2 fights, 2 12-round fights, and both of those fights went to distance.
There you go.
Yeah.
Now, there are some people who might cry no mas, right? We've heard that phrase before, right?
Yeah. But still, looking back, I probably should have won both of those matchups. I lost 2 decisions on both times, but I thought I should have won both times.
Well, all of us in the 2020 world, in hindsight, should have won things. All of us.
Yeah. If I knew what I knew now and I was boxing, oh my God. Be incredible.
Rick, there are people who know things right now and still aren't applying them. There's things that can change people's lives right now. I was overwhelmed by a call that I had yesterday. You know that? Would you like to know a little bit about that call?
Yes.
So someone I know has some precancerous cells. Went to the doctor, was pretty bummed about it. So I shared with them some thoughts. I said, do you want to hear about some thoughts about nutrition that can conceivably make a difference? I always ask the permission, because even people in that condition, believe it or not, are not always open for change. They'd rather pop the pill. So I said, there is a couple of things you need to do nutrition wise so that you can fight that off. Something I learned from somebody a lot smarter than I am, which is why I interviewed people just like you do, to learn things. We never have all the answers. And I was pleasantly surprised. They called me today and they thanked me profusely. And they said, they feel like their whole life is changing. And what's interesting is I tried to change nutrition, but in trying to change nutrition, which I succeeded at, I also changed a mindset went from gloom and doom to possibility. When you have a mindset of possibility and joy and potential, you actually have something as strong as the strongest medicine. You're allowing your immune system to now give you a fighting chance. Does that make sense, Rick?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Of course. Absolutely. Well, you said something, and I have I've been pretty blessed, man, to have met, been around, went to see speak, bought a lot of books, tapes of different people. But I have a friend of mine, he's actually from Harlem, and he said to me, he says, Rick, people are born, we are all born to win, but a lot of us are conditioned to lose. Now, when you hear that term, Eli, Marcus, what becomes present for you?
Well, again, in 1936, Napoleon Hill wrote his classic book, which everybody has heard of, called Think and Grow Rich. And I advise people to read the book, but if you don't get around to reading the book, internalize the title, okay? What does that title mean? Think and grow rich. Think. It's all in the mind. It's not what's happening around you. It's not how old you are, how young you are, how short you are, what color you are, what religion you are. Now, you can make some good arguments for all of that stuff, and I'll allow for your arguments. But I won't allow for that to define you and to mean that you're never going to be able to rise to the top. You're going to rise as far as your mindset allows you to. You're going to rise as far as and as high as your attitude allows you. If you set a goal for yourself and you put that goal every day on your refrigerator, every day on your computer, on your bathroom mirror, and you're serious about that goal. Now, I'm going to tell you a quick story. Today, I got an email, and that email was about the first Radio City Christmas Rockette, the first one they ever chose that had a handicap. She was born without a hand. Did that stop her? Now, did she look at everybody else and say, how am I going to possibly become one of whatever 1,000 different Rockettes throughout history? None of them were born without a hand. She dared to defy the odds. She dared to take her handicap and not use it as an excuse. She dared to say, I can be one as well, despite it all.
Do you remember when you first heard of this thing called personal development? Do you remember how you got turned on to it?
Yeah, I got turned on to personal development, Rick, because when I was younger, I didn't want to be stuck in the mindset that I had, which I didn't think I can escape from. That mindset was a mindset called shyness. Shyness is the biggest handicap on the planet. Just ask anybody who's painfully shy, okay? Tony Robbins goes into saying he lived in a 600 square foot flat and he was overweight. Big deal. And not to undermine Tony Robbins overcoming that, but that's easier to overcome in my mind than somebody who's painfully shy. Very difficult to bust out of that, become an extrovert, get on a stage, get on a mic, and, be the center of attention. But I'm living proof that the person who might have been voted shyest person in the entire school, least likely to get on a stage and succeed, I'm living proof that it can be done.
Yeah, that's another subset of fear, the shyness. But I heard someone say one time that they know many people that if they're at a funeral, they would rather be in the casket than up there speaking.
Well, that is true, because the number one fear is the fear of public speaking, not of death.
Yeah, right. Isn't that something? Wow, that's like, that blow. Give me that mic. Where's the mic? I snatch that mic out your hand. Get out of here.
And since we're getting a little bit dark here, and I know you and I don't like to get too much into the dark space, but you know where the vast number of dreams end up, right, Rick?
In the cemetery.
That's exactly right.
That's what my man Les Brown said.
That's exactly right.
Yeah. There was something that Don Miguel Ruiz said to you that was really powerful. Can you remember what that was?
Are you speaking of Don Miguel Ruiz, or you're speaking of Mark Victor Hansen?
No, Mark Victor Hansen is next. But
okay.
Don Miguel Ruiz said something to you that really was impactful.
Well, I'm not sure the point that you're making about Don Miguel Ruiz. I certainly know the point about Mark Victor Hansen, but I'll tell you the one thing that certainly struck me about the four agreements. And of the four, the one that strikes me most is be impeccable with your word.
Woo! Wow.
Right? Now, he didn't say be okay with your word, Rick. He didn't say be good with your word, Rick. He didn't say be great with your word, Rick. He didn't say be excellent with your word, Rick. He didn't say be tremendous with your word, Rick. He said impeccable.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Impeccable.
Man. That's powerful. That's powerful, man.
Okay. So be careful what you say to people. And if you're going to say it, it's your bond. It's better than a contract.
Wow.
Wouldn't that change the entire legal profession? It'd be a lot less lawyers if people were impeccable with your word. What do you think, Rick?
Not only legal profession, the worldwide.
Right? Okay.
Any profession, any family, any basketball team, any boxer. I mean, no matter what, any teacher, any career that you're in, that principle right there alone that's one of the most powerful set of words that you can say.
Absolutely. Be impeccable with your word. How often do you hear the word impeccable? How often is that in anybody's vocabulary? And why not?
Right. That's right. That's right. Because people they'll say, hey, let's get together. I'm going to call you. And they just kind of saying that, or let's get together, and they don't follow up with that. And it's not being impeccable with your word. That's pretty powerful.
Rick, you asked me 2 hours ago when I'd be ready to be on your show. Now, a lot of people would have said next week, 2 weeks. How long did it take me to get on your show, Rick?
Well, you right away, you said, hey, let's go. Let's do it. Let's do it right away.
Okay.
So, and you that's how you've been. When you came to the studio, City College, I mean, the show is 6 o'clock in the morning, man, so that's really being impeccable with your word.
Make no excuses. Be there. Do what you need to do. It's an honor to be invited to do anything in this life. Nobody owes anything to you. When somebody asks you to be their guest, it's the ultimate praise and the ultimate honor.
Yeah.
So, and if more people put themselves in that position and showed up and was impeccable with their word, they'd get a lot further in life.
Yeah,
rather than complaining.
I signed up for this webinar, and I think it starts like 5:15 in the morning. I'm like, why would it start? Well, 5:15 in the morning, but it's coming from
South Africa or something like that. Yeah,
no, it's coming from Europe.
Yeah,
and they're 5 hours behind us. So it's regular time for them, but it's 5:15 in the morning. I said, hey, I signed up. I said, hey, let's go, let's do it. Let's make it happen. It's information I'm interested in. I'm gonna go for it. Now, you mentioned, go ahead, you wanna say something?
Well, I was going to say, Rick Young was willing to take a bus down to, if I believe it was Baltimore, I think, to go to an event, a motivational event. Now, I know some people that won't go from Manhattan into Queens, let alone get on a bus in the wee early hours of the morning or overnight. I think you were going to do it.
I took a few buses out of town.
Yeah.
Baltimore, Philly, Boston, going to seminars, going to motivational seminars. And so, I've done it. But, I was hungry. I wanted to learn. I wanted to be around that atmosphere. I fell in love with that, the thing called personal development. But you had a sit down conversation. I don't know if it was dinner, it was lunch, with someone by the name of Mark Victor Hansen, who was a part of selling 500 million books. Excuse me. Can you talk about that conversation that you guys had?
Well, first of all, Mark Victor Hansen and his partner, Jack Canfield, who both co-wrote Chicken Soup for the Soul, they're the #1 bookseller in nonfiction in history. Not this year, not the last 10 years, in history. Okay. Think about how many books that is, right? So when Mark Victor Hansen says, Eli, would you like to join me for breakfast tomorrow morning? What do you think Eli Marcus said? What time?
I might oversleep. I don't know, man. I don't know if I could be there on time, But I know Eli was there. I know Eli was definitely there and on time. Not on time, but early. And
you got that right. You got that right. So he gave a seminar for me that day, and he wanted to, before he'd leave in town the next day, before he's getting in the airport, he said, join me for breakfast. He joined me for breakfast, and he asked me a question that I will be thinking about till the day I depart this wonderful earth here. A remarkable question that if you internalize this question, understand its meaning, understand the gigantic nature of this question, it can definitely change your whole world. It's a game changer. And what he said to me, he said, Eli, can you fill up the Meadowlands if we did an event together? And I said, you mean that 80,000 seat arena in New Jersey? And he said, do you know any other one? I said, nope. And at the time, to be perfectly frank, it was challenging to put 100 people in a room. Okay. We didn't have the age of the internet, social media, where things just, mushroom and there's a domino effect. It's a little tougher world. So years later, it dawned on me, how can somebody ask a question like that? Well, he can ask a question like that because he set a goal for himself of 1 billion books. How many people set goals for themselves that high? How dare they set a goal that high, right? Or how dare you not? We can look at the other way. How dare you not set a big goal? So a man like that thinks extremely big. And you're either going to be in the game or you're not going to be in the game. Okay. So I interviewed Mark a couple of weeks ago, and I asked him, what can I do to get in your game? The reason is that lightning did strike twice. I got to get the attention of Mark Victor Hansen a second time. Now, if you didn't learn from the first time, okay, shame on you, right? So now maybe we do a big project together. Maybe it's not the Meadowlands, but maybe it's something else. But you're only going to rise as high as you think. And you might not reach that billion book goal. But what do you think, Ricks? You think 500 million books is pretty good so far?
That's excellent. That's excellent. Excellent. I would not complain, not even a little bit. Wow. I mean, but that mindset, you know, the that idea was developed at a seminar that they used to have in Las Vegas. I went 3 different times to the seminar, and I know a young lady, Lisa Nichols. She
Yep.
went to the seminar 42 times,
Wow.
and so when they did Chicken Soup for the African American Soul, she was in that book. When they did Chicken Soup for the African American Woman's Soul, she was in that book. She was a part of that. And when they did The Secret, because Jack Canfield was in there, and she got in that, and that was it. Once she got in The Secret, it was like, she took off like a rocket.
Well,
So
she put herself in that position, right?
42 times. I went 3, and that was it. She went 42 times.
How many pairs of shoes you're willing to wear out? How many pairs of sneakers?
That's it. You know, traveling to Las Vegas back and forth was getting kind of expensive, man. So I gave it a shot 3 times. It's like, you know.
How many times did Mark Victor Hansen get and Jack Canfield get rejected for their book?
Oh, they got like 30 something times, maybe even more. I don't know. 30 was it 30?
You know, it depends on which rumor you listen to. There are some accounts that it was over 100.
They got turned down a lot of times to get their book published.
Regardless of how many times, it was an awful lot of times.
Yeah. But they kept pushing. They kept pushing. At one point, the book was in a cookbook section. Here's a motivational book in the cookbook section. They didn't care. Book was selling. They went with it.
Now think about what you just said. How many of us are in the cookbook section? You know what I mean by that?
No.
Well, we're born in a certain way, right? So we're in this other section. We're in this cookbook section. We're not in this other section that we're thinking we want to be in. This motivation section, this success, section. We're in the cookbook section, right? And we can allow ourselves to stay in the cookbook section because somebody else decided that we belong there, or that's where our friends are. Our friends are in the same cookbook section. So how dare I think about being in another section of life? Okay, it's metaphor, of course. You get to decide what section you want to be in. You may be born into that cookbook section, but you have a choice. And you can break away. You can break that DNA. You can break the bonds. No matter where you,
They didn't break it down. They tore it down.
Tore it down. Exactly. Tear it down. Tear down that barrier. Tear down the DNA of your father, your grandfather, your great-grandfather. You don't have to be anywhere that anybody else was in your DNA. You get to choose where your current DNA lands.
Now, Eli, I heard a rumor about you.
Okay.
I heard a rumor.
Let's hear this one.
That you play this game called basketball.
Yes, sir.
Is that a correct? Is that a true rumor that you play the game of basketball?
That is a very true statement.
And I heard you have a decent jump shot too. Decent one. Is it a jump shot or is it a set shot?
Well, I would say I have both.
Okay.
Of course, your definition of jump shot, I may not be getting very far off the floor, but it's still classified as a jump shot.
Okay. All right. Okay. So you heard my interview with Lucian. I need to know who your starting 5, your motivational success starting 5, your top 5 motivational success, because there's 5 players on the basketball team. So who's your top 5? You might be ready for this question because you probably know I was going to ask it. So who's your top 5 motivational? I'm going to write them down. So go ahead.
Well, I wasn't prepared for the question, but that's okay because it shouldn't be that difficult, because I know who I've listened to. I know who've inspired me. So we're going to start it off with Tony Robbins.
Okay.
We're going to go with Les Brown.
Okay.
Okay. We're going to go with Dr. Dennis Waitley.
Okay. Hold on. Let me write. I'm writing. And what was the big book, the hot book, the top book that he wrote?
Earl Nightingale?
No. Dennis Waitley.
The Psychology of Winning.
Right. There you go. So if I was home, I would be able to check that if I was home. I have all my Dennis Waitley stuff at my apartment. So go ahead. So that's 3.
Well, I mentioned Earl Nightingale because he was on my mind. So he's number 4.
Okay. Man, what a voice that he had. Hello, this is Earl Nightingale. Had that deep voice. And he studied that success game, and he really studied that game. And he really applied it.
Now, do you want me to tell you why he was my number? He's one of my 5, or should we save that for after we give our 5th?
After you give your 5th.
All right, good. So the 5th one is a little more challenging because I can probably put 5 or 6 people into that slot. You know, the top 4 was real easy for me because those are the 4 that immediately come to mind that have definitely the greatest influence on me.
Yeah.
But I'm going to go with Jim Rohn.
Oh, wow. Okay. Why? Okay.
And each one has their own reason and rationale behind why they're in that top 5.
Why did you pick Jim Rohn?
Well, the reason, number 1, Tony Robbins to me is probably the most successful motivational speaker in history in terms of who he can command as an audience. I mean, I don't know anybody else that can fill up an entire arena of people spending even up to a few $1,000s each. And for Tony Robbins to have Jim Rohn as a mentor, that says a lot. I flew to Texas to see Jim Rohn. In fact, I think that may have been his last seminar that he gave. I was desperate to see him.
Wow.
I don't know why I didn't get there before, but I flew to Texas. And the genuineness, the soft-spokenness, he didn't need to be theatrical. He didn't need to get attention. He just was a giant in philosophy. He lived it, he breathed it. And that showed me a lot because, as you know, I've dealt with a lot of celebrities. I've dealt with a lot of people on top. And when they come off the stage, sometimes they can be a little different than they are on the stage, to say the least, Rick.
Okay.
But he was off the stage exactly the man that he was on the stage. A brilliant mind, a philosopher, a poet.
Now, I noticed that you don't have any women on your team. Why is that?
That's a great question. There's a lot of great women in my mind, but those are the people that I happen to listen to, maybe because they had the audio tape programs, they had the books that were out, and they were just front and center.
Mm-hmm.
But not to shortchange women, there's a long list of women who I admire and have also influenced me.
Why Earl Nightingale?
Well, Earl Nightingale in particular, one reason is that he was faced with an affliction that gave him pain all the time. Most people didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
Right. So we're in a world where people want to justify their excuses. They'll argue their excuses. They'll fight for their excuses. They'll die with their excuses. And here's a man, again, like the Rockette we told you about, who decided that his ailment was not going to keep him from making a difference.
Mm-hmm.
And I can tell you, he made a difference with me.
Made a difference with a lot of people.
Yeah. And he told the story called Acres of Diamonds.
Yes. Yes.
And he told it like nobody else ever did.
Yeah. Right. That's right. Why Dennis Waitley?
Dennis Waitley had also taught for me at the seminar center. And I asked him a question, which I think you're going to like, Rick. I said, Dennis, we've got some of the most entertaining, theatrical, motivating people on the planet. We've got Tony Robbins. We've got Les Brown. We've got people that get on the stage and they just light the stage up. You know, they could be an entertainer if they want to be, you know, if they weren't a motivational speaker. They could be a box office superstar. I said, you have a different style, yet you've been very successful. And he says, Eli, you have to have a style that rings true to you. You have to have a style that is you, which is authentic. You can't be anybody else. You can only be yourself. You can model and pick up and admire things in other people. Maybe you can incorporate that. But at the end of the day, you have to stay true to yourself. And by staying true to myself, I've done pretty well, and I've done as well as the other guys. Everybody's got their different style. Doesn't make it right, doesn't make it wrong. This is what's right for me. This is what I resonate with. Resonate with, Rick. So what?
Yeah, he did a program on self-discipline, and I could not. It's actually on VHS tape. I could not get my hands on it. I mean, you think he might still have some of those tapes? I mean, no one has VHSs anymore anyway. But I mean, I would love to get my hand on that tape. He did a tape on self-discipline.
Yeah, send me a note and I'll ask him. But
okay,
you have to admire a man who Olympic athletes went to, where Apollo astronauts went to learn about how to win and the psychology of winning.
Wow. That's it. That's it. That's it.
If you had Dennis Waitley in your corner, you would maybe have been undefeated. If I had him in the corner, maybe I would have filled up the Meadowlands at the time. You know, maybe if I understood and applied every principle, right? As successful as we've been, you know.
Well, that's a strong team. Les Brown. Why Les?
Well, Les Brown has an infectious way about him. He's got the best laugh of any speaker I've ever seen. Everybody loves his laugh. Everybody loves his story about being Miss Mamie Brown's baby boy. You can relate to Les. You can relate to him also, you know, relating to a guy who was born in the tough streets of Overton, right? Miami, and had a stepmother who raised him, was told that he was educably retarded. Can you imagine being told that you're educably retarded?
Yeah.
Getting a label like that would be enough to make you shrink. How could you then rise up to go the opposite direction and to show the world that not only you're not educably retarded, but you're super intelligent, you're super inspiring?
Well, so, he had someone to really show him the way. He had someone, a mentor.
Yeah, Mr. Washington.
Leroy Washington, that teacher, showed him the way. So, you know, sometimes we need that. Not sometimes, almost all the time. We should have a mentor.
Absolutely.
I had great teachers in my life. So, yeah, Leroy Washington, you know, was a great teacher for him.
And you're a great teacher, Rick.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate that. Now, Mr. Tony Robbins. Why Tony?
Well, Tony has achieved what no one in history has achieved. There you go. What Tony did is he made people understand that whatever state of mind you're in right now, you can drastically change that. And he didn't do that by putting you on some couch someplace and asking you a bunch of questions for an hour like a psychologist did. What he tells you to do is just get up. So what do you mean get up? Just get up. Okay, I'm up. What do I do now? Start jumping around like a madman. What do you mean jumping around like a madman? Just do what I say. Jump around like a madman. Change your state. If If you change your state, you change your attitude, you change your thinking. And he made people understand that. He made millions understand that. He created an entire system, and his events are they're like rock events. They're like concerts. So he had the brilliance of combining motivation. People at his events don't want to leave. They don't get bored because they're not sitting there like in a classroom. He's the first guy that learned that classroom learning is good, but it's not sustainable. Certainly not over a 4-day period like he does his events.
Yeah. Yeah. Get up, hey, get up. And he's all kind of, he does a call to action, all different kind of positive words. It's an incredible show. I went to one of them, but I missed you said that he doesn't have you on the couch. He doesn't have you on the couch, but he got you on working on hot coals.
Got you walking on hot coals.
Cool
So
Moors.
That's it.
Now, I missed that part. I don't know if it was on purpose. But I was working at the time, so I was kind of going back and forth. They were in New Jersey. Yeah. So I didn't get a chance to walk on the hot coals.
Well, I did. And it was 1 o'clock in the morning, and I will never forget it.
Wow. 1 a.m. in the morning.
Yep.
And
1 o'clock in the morning.
What does that do for your confidence? What does that do for your psyche?
It makes you realize that the impossible, or what you thought was impossible, is altogether possible.
Mm-hmm.
By simply facing your fear and doing it anyway.
Mm-hmm. What is it when you hear the term "one door closes and another one opens"? What becomes present when you hear that term?
The conditions that we're in right now in a COVID world, doors are closing, and doors are also opening.
Right, right. Now, how have you been dealing with this pandemic? This thing that's going on, this coronavirus?
I've been shifting. I've been finding ways to utilize the time that I might have spent otherwise, perhaps less fruitfully.
Okay.
So I'm developing my podcast. I'm putting the chapter designs for my book finally together. I'm doing things that before perhaps I would have found ample excuses not to be able to get around to. But now what excuses do I have? Right?
Right. That's right.
We have more time on our hands than ever before. So we either rise to the occasion or we sink to the abyss. And it's real easy to sink to the abyss.
So here's a question I like to ask. I'm gonna give you $100. Put $100 in your hand, in your pocket, wherever, in your hand. And we're gonna put you in a city where you know no one. So you have to take that $100. You have to eat, and find a place to live with that $100. That's it. Can't call up anybody, no lifeline for help. You got to use your skills, your talents, your abilities. What is Eli Marcus going to do in that situation? $100.
Well, it's not how much money I have in my hand at the moment. It's how much money that's potentially going to pass through my hands. So I'm going to do everything. I'm going to use one word, Rick. One of the most powerful words in the English language. You know what that is?
What is that?
It's a word that very few people use, and it's a word that very few people utilize. Okay. It's called collaboration.
Okay. I like that word.
And I'm going to tell you why, Rick. Do you know anybody where one head is better than two heads?
Say that again.
You've heard the expression two heads are better than one?
Yeah, of course.
How about the reverse? Do you know anybody where one head is better than two?
I guess if you're a genius, maybe.
Think about that, right? So a lot of people are walking around with their one head thinking, you know something? I don't need to ask directions. I don't need to ask questions. I don't need to do this. I don't need to do that. I'll figure it out on my own. Particularly men, right? Men don't like to ask directions, right, Rick? We don't like to ask directions. We don't, we want everybody to think that we know everything. We don't want to show this sign of weakness. The most powerful thing you can do is ask a question, as my friend Mark Victor Hansen has proven in his new book called Ask. That's the power of the universe right there, to ask. So you got $100 in your hand. What are you going to do? How are you going to multiply it? You're going to collaborate, and you're going to start asking questions until you find out how to take that $100 and make it into $1 million.
Wow. You can take 100 and turn it into 1 million?
You absolutely can.
Wow. That's
People have done it.
That's interesting.
I mean, look at Steve Jobs, right? And his partner worked out of their garage, made this little company called Apple, right out of their garage.
Yeah. So I'm going to ask you a question, and this is going to be a very challenging question. Now, you sat down with Mark Victor Hansen, and he said, "Can you fill up the Meadowlands, 80,000 people?" Wow, that's a serious question, and it could be done. The question is, are you willing to put in the work? But the question I want to ask you, Eli Marcus, here today, on this day, August 7th, 2020, I want you to say here on this show, I want you to give me your ultimate goal. And the goal it's got to be that I say, man, in my mind, I might not say it, but in my mind, I say, no, this guy's crazy. How's it go? Almost like an impossible dream goal. I want you to commit to that goal, or say that goal right now.
My goal is to have the top motivational podcast in the world.
Yeah, that's not. I think you could do that. That's not something I don't think you could do. I think you could do that. That's not, because you got a lot of connections. A lot of great people, so you could probably make that happen. I want something outrageous. I want an outrageous goal. I want you to even say, "Damn, why did I say that?"
Okay, how's this, Rick? I want to save 50 million lives, 50 million people from suffering. How's that?
Well, there are people suffering from many different ways. In which way do you want to stop them from suffering?
I want to help them physically, mentally, and any other way. And you know how I'm going to do that?
How's that?
I'm going to tell you why. Okay. We have the number one killer is heart disease. Cancer is right behind that. If you go into certain rural countries, there's almost no incident of heart disease, very little cancer, almost no prostate cancer, which is prevalent in this country. And then you get to say why. Okay. And there's science behind it. Now, there's no Kentucky Fried Chicken there. There's no McDonald's there. Right? There's no coconut oil. There's no sugar. There's nothing but pure plants, vegetables, fruits.
Now, where's this at?
These are places scattered throughout the world, little less metropolitan than we have in New York City and other cities. Okay. These are almost small tribal places. Okay. And this is something taught to me by a gentleman by the name of Dr. Caldwell Esselstyn, one of the world's top cardiologists. And what he found is that there was in 1950s Japan, there was something like 16 cases in all of Japan of prostate cancer, very few cases of breast cancer. And then he asked why. And the common denominator was diet.
Mm-hmm.
What is somebody willing to do to fight off the scourges of diabetes and everything else that we have in this country, of which most are man-made? I mean, there's a diabetes where you're congenitally born with it. But then the other part, which is more prevalent, is a man-made disease from our diet. So people can make a choice. They can prevent it from ever happening, or they can attempt to reverse it when it's the scourge. It's a lot easier to prevent it. So if I can change one person, like I told you the earlier story, by giving them some tips on their diet, that would mean a lot. If I can change 50 million, that's my goal.
All right. Did you take a look at that video that I sent you? Not the one with Lucian, the other one.
I haven't gotten to that yet, but
Oh,
because I went 3/4 of the way through Luciana, and that's 45 minutes.
Yes.
So we'll get to the other one.
Yeah. Yeah, you gotta see that. I'm not gonna tell you what it is, but I need you to take a look at that video.
Done.
And then when you do, let me know what you think when you see it.
Done.
So we're almost at the end. We're almost at the end, Eli. So we're pretty quick, huh?
You know something, Rick? You and I can probably talk for 24 hours straight, because when you're talking about something that burns within you, you can go forever.
Yeah. Oh, okay. I know. I have a final question for you. You ever heard of this thing called personal excellence? You ever heard of that before?
Well, maybe not in the way that you're going to describe it, but sure, go ahead.
I'm not going to describe it. I'm not going to ask you, what does it mean to you? You hear this thing called personal excellence. What is that? What becomes present for you when you hear that term?
Well, again, not to be repetitive, but my philosophy is you determine your own happiness, you determine your own success, you determine everything. Things are going to happen around you. Some people get more bum breaks than other people, but some people get really, really bad breaks. And somehow they end up much further on top than somebody has relatively few bad breaks. Why is that? It's all your mindset. It's all what makes you hungry. It's all what makes you get up in the morning. What is your design for life? For me, it's to make a difference in every single human being that I come across. Every person that meets me, my goal is they're 1% better. That's all. Maybe they're 5% better.
So wait a second. You just said that you don't want to be repetitive. When there's a guy named Michael Jordan, they say he worked on a move over and over again. So when he got in the game, it was natural. It was like it was easy to do because he had worked on it so much. And then Kobe saw what Mike did, and he would shoot up 2,000 shots. I mean, he would work on his game. So you say you don't want to be repetitive. Why do you not want to be repetitive?
No, I do want to be repetitive just on the show because I already covered the point, but in life, in the game of life, you must be repetitive in order to get to the top. You can't be just winging it or just learning something at one time. And people have come to me and said, I went to this motivational thing once and it just didn't work. My doorman, you're going to love this, Rick. He says, motivation is just a scam, right? It's just a scam. For him, okay, that's his mindset. What they're failing to understand is motivation is not the end all be all. It's not a one-time thing. It's a daily thing. You get up in the morning and you got to have hunger. Again, like Les Brown says, got to be hungry. Are you hungry or you're not hungry?
So tell him, when you see him again, tell him, say, you know what? I need you to never, ever brush your teeth again. I need you to never, ever wash your face again.
Yeah,
because you only need to do that one time.
Absolutely.
It lasts you forever.
Well, look.
Someone said that it's like a shower. You have to do it again and again and again. So what does he mean it doesn't work?
Well, that's a cop-out at the end of the day for somebody who's just not willing to put in the hard work. Let's face it. We're going to find any excuse we have. Again, We can bring up, well, I didn't have a silver spoon in my mouth. And I love the people that come to me and assume that I had a silver spoon in my mouth, assume that I had an advantage, assume they already know how I was brought up. They already know my family history, right? They assume it. They don't know my story either. I don't
Well, you
tell
know
my
what?
story every day.
I want to give you my starting five.
Yes, I'd love to hear your starting five.
So I'm even going to give them positions. I'm even going to take it further.
Mhm.
So my center is going to be Napoleon Hill.
Woo. Yep.
It's my
Gotta
center.
take it back to 1936.
That's my
Yep.
center.
Yep.
My power forward is going to be Les Brown,
Yep. Yep.
right? My small forward is going to be, wait a minute. My small forward is going to be Lisa Leslie.
Okay. Yeah.
42 times she went to Las Vegas to these seminars. 42 times she went. And now she's out there speaking, doing her thing. So she's gonna be my small forward.
You mean Leslie Nichols?
Leslie Nichols.
Okay.
I
Yeah,
said
Lisa Leslie
right?
is the Los Angeles Sparks.
Yeah, I know, right?
WNBA.
Yeah. And my shooting guard is going to be Herbert Harris. So how many that I called out so far?
That sounds like 4 to me.
Oh, and my point guard is going to be Jim Rome.
Woo.
Jim Rome's going to be my point guard.
Okay.
And because 7, I said 5.
Yep.
But 7 is my favorite number. So I'm going to add 2 additional players.
Lucky 7.
And that would be Willie Jolly. A setback is a setup for a comeback.
Wait a minute. Wait a minute. Now a lot of people might think that we set this up.
Yeah.
But we didn't.
A setback is a setup for a comeback. Willie Jolly.
Okay.
And my other one would be Dr. Dennis Kimbrough, who did Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice.
Yes, absolutely.
Napoleon Hill, before he passed away, did 100 pages of Think and Grow Rich, a Black Choice before he passed away. W. Clement Stone and the team, the Napoleon Hill Foundation, they called a meeting with Dr. Kimbrough. They said, hey, we want you to work on this project. And he said that blew his mind, that, going to the office and being there. And, he lived to be 100, W. Clement Stone.
Mm-hmm.
And he was working on a book. They said, no, put that aside. We want you to work on this book. And he talked about that experience. It was an amazing experience. So that would be my 7. So my 5 plus 2. And if you know the rules of the game, you could have added 1 or 2 or 3 or how many as you wanted, because hey, you can't let me put you in a box.
Yep.
Because I had Robert Kreiner. He said, hey, and he picked 3 women, but he was like, he picked 6 players. He said, I gotta have a 6th player. So there you go.
Powerful.
So now, last question. Is this thing called success, personal achievement, personal success principles, personal growth, could it be fun?
Not only could be fun, it could be ecstatic. It could define your whole being. It could be your whole essence.
Yeah.
It's a mindset at the end of the day. And everybody's definition of success is allowed to be different. Some people, success is walking and looking at the moon, looking at the flowers, looking at the ocean, like I did tonight. The ability to be able to do that, to have the time to do that, to have the wherewithal, the thought, to be able to grab the joy from that. That's worth all the tea in China right there.
Okay.
Appreciate the things, the small things, and don't sweat the small stuff.
Okay.
And it's all small stuff, as Richard Carlson said in his subtitle.
So here, live, on the radio, on the internet, I want you to give me the password to your bank account.
Okay.
Now, before you speak, you might speak too soon. The bank account I'm talking about is your good deeds bank account. I need the passcode to your good deeds bank account. Because remember, it's all about doing good deeds too, Eli. And I know you do a lot of good deeds for people.
Well, I think you just hit the nail right on the head right there. You know, what is it that you're going to be remembered for
Right.
at the end of the days?
Right.
Are they going to remember you for your bank account, your
Right.
real bank account? Are they
Right.
remember you for how many cars you have, the kind of
Right.
cars you have? What are people going to remind you? You know what they're going to remember, Rick? One thing. You want to know what that is, Rick?
What's that?
How you made them feel.
That's right. Because I felt real good when I saw that Liberace jacket, man. I felt real good, man. I was like, what happened?
You should see. I got a few good ones, Rick. You haven't seen anything yet. I've got a few of those.
All right.
Next time.
Well, listen, I want to thank you, Eli, for being here tonight. And, you know, just keep doing that good work. Many blessings to you. And I learned from my friend Robert Kreiner. I know some really cool people, man. I know just a couple of them. But he told me to pass this message on. He said that you are a divine expression of God.
Absolutely.
Wow. I love that. I love that term.
And Rick, if I may have some last words.
Yes.
Man is not the sum of what he has, but the totality of what he does not yet have, of what he might have. Okay.
All right. All right.
What that means is the best is yet to come in plain English language.
All right, man. Thank you.
Thank you,
Go get
Rick.
him.
Stay blessed. You're a champion, Rick. You always were and you always will be.
All right. So are you.
Thank you.
All right. I'll see you on the path.
See you.
All right. Take care. No, take it to the next level. Don't take care.
You got that right. See you at the top.
All right. See you I love that. Yeah, okay. Great.
That was Rick Young and What's in Your Hand, Labby Grant, and his guest, Eli Marcus. And remember, if you tune in next time, just might learn something.